Alright, so welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, welcome. I go by Magaly. So the reason why I'm doing this live, I just been literally observing, and I always get this question by a lot of people, like how do I stay consistent on my spiritual journey, like what do I do? And they, I always get asked like how somebody can literally stay strong in their work of faith and literally just keep their eyes on Jesus. And so I really did a small evaluation, self-evaluation, to see like, okay, so what have I been doing that helps me, that keeps me literally on the right track? Because I'm just like everybody else, guys. I am just a human being. I have days where like I could be weak. I have days where I'm not as motivated, I am not as focused, but these are the four things that always bring me back. So I have four non-negotiables that I have built in my life, that these four non-negotiables, like they really help me, they guide me, and so far it's been the only way I keep myself on the right track. If I'm like, there's distractions coming, or if I feel like I'm not as motivated, these four non-negotiables always bring me back to the most important thing. So I'm gonna share these four non-negotiables with you guys, and hopefully they can help you. If not, I mean, for sure this is helping me, and I'm sure either one or two or maybe all of them can help you as well if you start applying them. And so I want to start first with this thing though, like these non-negotiables. Yes, it's important to have boundaries and have non-negotiables, but we also have to be considerate and think about others as well. Always, this is my mantra, like this is, if I'm to say this, I have, I always remind myself to treat people how I would like to be treated. And then sometimes, honestly, it's hard, it's hard to just stay focused like that, but we have to do it, we have to do it. And this verse in Luke chapter 6, verse 31, it's like, I always remember, like, Magaly, beside your emotions, whatever your decisions and boundaries, remember always to, if you're setting a boundary, you're putting on something, like you're putting a boundary or a principle, always remember that. Be considerate with others, treat others how you would like to be treated. So I came up with these four non-negotiable things. The number one is, I do not negotiate my relationship with God. So this is something that is sometimes going to cost you friendships, that is going to cost you, obviously opportunities, because there are going to be things that are going to present themselves to you, and it looks so good on paper, everything is just like, wow, but it doesn't align with your biblical values, or it doesn't align with the person you are as a Christian. So number one, I always evaluate everything with God's word. How is this going? Like, I always go first. I'm like, is this aligned with God's principles? So I do not negotiate, like my relationship with God, my creator, is a non-negotiable. And this honestly will not only help you to avoid conflicts, avoid unnecessary drama, like, because these are the things that we also have to communicate with people, because no one will ever assume like, hey, this is who you are. It's important to communicate these things so that everyone, at least in your life, know where they stand. And it also allows the people who are on the same journey as you to feel, to be in your life. So I feel like alignment and communication is very important. That's why I'm sharing these non-negotiables with you guys, so that you are not afraid to share. If you're a Christian, don't be afraid to share, and don't be afraid to tell people that, hey, I feel like don't be afraid to communicate, like, my relationship with God is the most important thing. If you're invited somewhere, maybe people want you to do certain things, it's important to don't disrespect anybody, but always let them know where you stand. Like, hey, I mean, I think this is amazing, this is cool, but I don't think this aligns with who I am. This does not align with the person I am. It doesn't align with my Christian principles. So, and that allows people to respect you and understand you as a human being. So the number 2 is never negotiate your individuality. This is especially with, in this world, right? All of us are created equal. All of us are special human beings. All of us are loved. God loves us, all of us, right? But we all have a different assignment and a purpose to fulfill here. There is something that I was born to do that only me can deliver, and there's something that you were born to do that only you, no one else can deliver that, because there's a special, all of us have that blueprint, that one thing that God placed us here to do. So you have to know that and understand that your individuality is really also connected to your purpose. So never negotiate your individuality, because when you negotiate that, these top 2 things are so important, because you will never be happy and you won't be satisfied, and you really you will never live in your full potential, in your true self. So yeah, and especially when it comes to, like, for example, romantic relationship or friendships, if you do not stand and be like, hey, I'm here, we are doing this together, but remember, this is who I am and this is how I can. So first of all, when obviously in life we have to collaborate, we have to negotiate with, we have to understand other people's boundaries as well and respect their individuality. And that is what makes really good, relationship. That's what makes, I noticed that at my work, where I work right now, being like communicating ahead of time, like for example, because in America you can work, you can work on Sundays, but this is something I had to make clear before I even started working my current job. I had to let them know that, hey, I am not working Sundays, because Sundays I literally dedicate that day for God. I have to go to church on Sundays. And because I communicated that, I was able, they give me that day off. I don't work Sundays because I communicated that, and I had to let them know that this is a guideline that I go by in life. So, and that created a space, a safe environment for me to work. And it also created, actually, it benefited others, because there was someone else who didn't want to be off on Sundays, because they would rather work on Sundays. So yeah, don't sacrifice your individuality, because I feel like if you negotiate your individuality, you will never honestly be happy. These are the things that I used to compromise and negotiate with in my past. And to be honest with you, every time I compromised those things, I was not happy. I was not, I did not, I wasn't focused. I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't at peace with myself. And I noticed that when I started actually creating firm boundaries with those things, I became more happier, more peaceful, more focused. I mean, I have way more energy. My relationship with others, especially like my family, is now much, much better, because I have time. I know, like, hey, I can't be here all the time. But most of it all, one thing I noticed is that when your relationship with God is aligned, everything else just falls into place. So number 3 is never negotiate your values. Values are really also what makes us too. And then we all have values, we have to understand, and it depends on everyone's culture. I am Rwandan, right? And I have a little bit of also, like, I claim the Congo side because my dad is from Congo. So we have different culture values, and there's also like spiritual values as well. But for me, one of the values that I really is non-negotiable these days for me is accountability. Accountability to me is so important, because I noticed that when we're not accountable with anything, it is important. It's hard for us to grow. Integrity is one of the values. and like self-respect and respecting others. Like I am, I realize too, like when we have values, those values that we have attract the right people in our lives, because then you begin to attract people who are on the same path with you. Like, hey, we are going in the same direction, because it's truly impossible for two people to work together if they do not agree, and understanding that, hey, your values may not necessarily be the same as the other person's values, but hey, we don't always have to be on the same page, but we can still respect each other, we can still love each other, because that's one thing, honestly. Love and respect, it never should be like it's a one person. No, everyone deserves love and everyone deserves respect. And values usually are standards. And then the next thing, the fourth thing is principles. Like there's so many, like now I have so many like spiritual principles that I don't joke around with. And I'll say like one of the principles is, for example, fasting. If you know that, hey, I need to fast at least maybe once a week or twice a week. So those are the things that, hey, you cannot negotiate those things. If, for example, you want to do something, or maybe somebody wants to do something with you that day, you have to, and this is also has to do with you as a person, because when you do that, it gives you, it empowers you. It empowers you because when you set goals and you have firm, like your boundaries and principles, and you follow them, it really elevates your confidence, your self-esteem, and then it just allows you to be organized. So fasting, if somebody wants to do something on the day you're fasting, and you can be able to communicate and be like, you don't always necessarily have to be like, hey, I'm fasting, I can't do this. You can just be like, hey, I am not available today, I have something to do, let's change this another time. So I'm sharing this for non-negotiables, because when we don't stand for something, we easily fall for anything. And also a lot of conflicts here on earth, like a lot of conflicts that most people we usually have, they're caused by either not being able to communicate our boundaries and communicate our non-negotiables, but also not sticking to them as well. Because at the end of the day, people will always treat you how you treat yourself. So, or how you show them, you teach people how to treat you. So I would say another, for example, another spiritual principle is, at this point in my life, for example, if I am to be in a relationship, I cannot date somebody who's not a believer, because it would be unequally yoked. If I'm going for somebody who's Muslim and I'm Christian, that relationship will never be 100%, because if we have different beliefs, then it's already a recipe of what? Of division, and all those things that are unnecessary issues that can be avoided, right? So yeah, I hope this helps you. And by the way, just because you are, like I said before, we live in a big world, everyone have different beliefs and values, but one thing I will always stand on is that we have to respect each other and love each other. And just as you would love people to honor your values and your principles, honor other people. It doesn't mean you have to join what they're doing, but you can honor them. Because I noticed that sometimes Christians, we can be really, really, really judging. We can be very judgmental, or we can be the enemy sometimes will tempt us to look down on others because they don't do what they're doing. I mean, they don't do what we're doing. It doesn't necessarily make anybody less or more than, if it's one thing, I always remind myself the number one principle is love. And that is the one thing that Jesus modeled. He modeled love. Like, he loved everyone. And that is truly what brings people to God, is love. That's why really people were attracted to Jesus, because he just had so much love to give. He loved everybody. And honestly, I feel like love covers everything. There's a way that we can always be constructive to others and communicate everything in love and respect. So there you have it. If you want to grow in your relationship with God and you're like, how do I do it? I hope these 4 principles help you. These 4 non-negotiables, as they're helping me, so I hope they help you too. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next time. Never forget to